Hello and welcome to Dental Wealth Builder. My name is Dr. Bhavna Rahul. Today I'm going to talk to you about transformational leadership as it applies to dentistry and dental practices. Before I do that, I just want to give you a little background on myself. So I work with my husband, Dr. Rahul Doshi. We're both dentists and have worked in the dental industry in the UK now for over 25 years. We've had multiple practices through those years and we understand the buying and selling processes well. We've had award-winning practices, and the most recent accolade is Rahul's most outstanding contribution to dentistry, which I'm very proud of. Rahul's also spent much time working with the British Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry and was voted president in 2018-19. He's also worked a number of years as clinical editor on one of the premium magazines in dentistry in the UK called Premium Practice Dentistry. And he now works as Clinical Strategy Development Director for Dentex, which is a corporate entity that owns just over 75 practices. So we've got much corporate perspective too. We've both been judges for the National Private Dentistry Awards for many years. If memory serves me right, it's about 15 years now. And over the years, we've become international speakers in multiple countries all around the world. We've also helped thousands of dentists through our Perfect Smile Advanced Training Institute, which we founded many years ago. And over here, we hold business courses and clinical hands-on courses on things like comprehensive full mouth cases and rehabilitation cases, treatment planning, occlusion, smile design. So we've got much clinical perspective to impart when required too. And we've had multiple media appearances, and we used to be the go-to dentist for media consultations regarding dental current affairs. So you can see we've had much experience over the years. Now we also work as dental business coaches and run various training programs for dentists, associates, which you can get more information if you go to our website, which is dentalwealthbuilder.com. And I'm very proud to say that over the years, 100% of the practices that we've coached and worked with have achieved over 20 to 30% increase in turnover as a minimum through directly working with our techniques and methods. Our focus now is working with our strengths, which are helping dentists to level up. Now that could be whether they want to level up as an associate or whether they want to convert their NHS practice to private practice, or they want to increase the volume of private dentistry they do. They might want to, have establish and manage a private practice for growth, or they might want to create a group of dental practice and want the experience there, or they simply want to increase the EBITDA or the profit of the practice for higher exit value. Regardless, this is mine and Rahul's strengths, and this is what we focus on now. So, coming back to transformational leadership in dentistry, often this is about breaking barriers to success, the challenges that you face on a daily basis. You see, in order to gain success, most dentists focus primarily on their clinical skills, and I suppose that's how it should be. However, the reality of the situation is a little skewed. You see, most dentists, especially when they want to strive and achieve great success, or they face any challenges in their working lives, tend to focus and move all their direction onto their clinical abilities. And they think that that's going to be enough. So they strive to become proficient in their clinical skills. They spend much time, money on postgraduate education and training, and then they acquire the necessary equipment and gain the technology. And all this in order to overcome some of the challenges that they might be facing in their careers. And the truth is, that's all we know as dentists. We know dentistry. So when problems arise, that's what we go to. It's almost, if you like, our comfort zones. Now, all this certainly helps in improving your confidence and your ability to deliver optimal treatment, and also on how your colleagues might perceive and respect you. However, it doesn't quite mean that you're going to be the most sought after dentist and you're going to have loads of patients actively seeking you out and lining up at your door and ready to have their treatment and, happy to pay for it. That doesn't necessarily equate as the same thing. So what tends to happen is, we feel that the more clinical capabilities we have, we want the success, but we experience that we don't quite get it. And after a while, dentists begin to realize that their skills and tools are becoming redundant and they're not getting enough of the right caliber patients coming to them or going ahead with their recommended treatment. They're not getting as many as they had imagined that they would get before they commenced on any clinical course, say. And this is mostly because people management is also a skill that needs to be improved in alignment with your clinical skills. And this is either people management with your direct team members that work with you in your practice, or managing your patients and their expectations. And that kind of messes things up a little bit when we don't have the correct skills to do that. And what we find, because of this incorrect belief that we have that, every time we face challenges, we focus more on just our clinical abilities, we pour huge amounts of budgets into this area, or chase the next big treatment or popular product or anything in dentistry that we might have spoken to our colleagues about. On so many occasions, I've spoken to people who have followed a particular path in their dental learning or particular treatment like Invisalign or Smile Design or implants, simply because they've spoken to somebody else at a dental conference or a friend of theirs who's been excited about that, and it's literally followed it and it's literally following the herd, following the crowd. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right thing for you. Because all you've really done in most instances is that you've spent a lot of time, money, energy following a haphazard pattern of work with no real focus or direction. And the thing is, your time is your most important resource, and you need to use that very, very carefully because it's not unlimited. You only have a finite amount of time in your careers. You only have a finite amount of time that you can actually do practicing the dentistry. So you need to actually get the most out of it, and you will not get a return on your investment if you simply focus on clinical skills alone. What's actually required in order to get a return on investment is all the other pieces of the puzzle functioning together cohesively and supporting one another. And that's things like having a strategy, having some direction, having a vision, having systems that make everything work, having finance model, sales, marketing, all these things put together, leadership of your team, all these things working cohesively and supporting one another if you want a return on investment. Another way of looking at this, especially when it comes to financial returns, is this. Take a look at this graph. So the amount of effort you put in is represented by the vertical axis. And the horizontal axis represents the success that you attain as a result. What happens to most dentists out there is that we face a barricade, a wall that's preventing us from achieving the success that we want. The wall represents the challenges that you face. It could be, the practice is not marketing correctly, or we don't have the proper sales occurring, and you're not getting the right type of patients coming through, or the team is not trained or motivated, or they're not inspired to do the work that you need them to do. Or you don't have the right space or equipment, your patients are difficult, you don't know how to sell, so on and so forth. It could be any number of things, but they all coalesce together to form a barrier to your success. And these things start off in a small way. So one thing bothers you, and then another thing bothers you, but eventually they escalate to become real challenges for you, and they become literally the barrier to your success. The things that you want to achieve could be anything. When it comes to leveling up, it could be moving from an NHS practice to private. If your average treatment plan is £1,000, to move it to £3,000. If it's £10,000, to move it to £30,000. If it's just to increase your income, you might want to buy a practice, but you don't know how and how to make that successful, and you're facing barriers that way. Or it might be that you want to just own multiple practices and want to become a little bit more entrepreneurial, but again, you're facing those barriers. What you need to do is break down that wall. So let's just look at things, what's happening before the wall. Before the wall, you're actually in your comfort zone, and your ability has limitations, but you're okay with that. And despite this, sales of smaller fee treatment plans are easy, mostly because the fees that you're dealing with are lower. So your patients don't really think too much on it, and the problems in their mouth are very limited. So they might have what I call shallow disabilities, so they don't have many things wrong with them. Might be one tooth or some gum problems or a filling here and there that needs to be done. It might be that they don't really think about whether you're the right practice for this work or not. Patients are often younger, so they're involved with lower risks, and there's lower overheads involved. And mostly it's about educating the patients on why you're recommending the treatment. And whether a patient goes ahead with the treatment plan or not is dependent on the dentist. So it's highly dentist influence. So if you say to your patient, Mrs. Smith, you need to have this tooth done and we need to do a filling on it, usually the patient will say, okay, what does that involve? And you just educate the patient on it, and usually they'll go ahead. So a lot of this is very simple dentistry and simple perception and simple explanation involved. However, when you go past that wall, things on the other side are a little bit more complex and a little bit more tricky. So there's more things involved now. So obviously, first thing is where higher fees are involved. And when higher fees are involved, obviously the dentistry is usually a bit more complex. There's multiple teeth involved, intricate treatment plans, occlusion is now involved, and therefore there's more risks involved. Usually these patients are a little older because they've got more things wrong with them, and they have what I call deeper disabilities. And now patients are not, because the treatment plans are slightly larger, patients aren't just saying, go ahead with it, and their decision making is a little bit more complex. So they are going to look at lots of other things as to, they're literally going to question that, are you the right dentist for them now? Are you the right dental practice for them? Should they go to seek someone who might be a little bit more qualified? And therefore your marketing needs to be stronger, and the team need to be a little bit more structured and organized in how they come across. So even your personal brand needs to be stronger, because it needs to be strong enough where people are actively seeking you out. Communication skills need to be better, because sales is more all about psychology and how you're perceived, as opposed to how actually good you are as a clinician. Now, it's an unfair statement, but it's a fact of life. And people don't spend the big bucks because they fully understand the clinical dentistry you do. They mostly go on trust and in you, in the practice, and the value that you're providing. And hence, communication becomes key to this all. So, there's a lot more involved after the wall. So if you want to eliminate this wall and break through it, you want to grow, expand, and advance. I'm going to show you how you do this. But before we do this, let's just look at some of our biggest challenges in dentistry as they are. So some of the biggest challenges when I speak to dentists that they're facing are things like team resistance. Many practice owners face team resistance in various forms when trying to implement new changes within their practice. And these could be small changes or big changes. Regardless, there's a lot of team resistance. These new ideologies are often essential if you want the practice to grow. But often, despite repeated team instructions, training, meetings, a lot of effort that you put into the team, it becomes increasingly difficult to integrate new systems, new treatments, better patient engagement concepts, improved marketing, and new ideas because of team resistance. You might have an uncommitted team because despite your continual reform, many practice owners find it increasingly challenging to motivate or inspire a team that appears to kind of lost its mojo. And this leads to a breakdown of team unity or efficiency and effectivity. And therefore, you kind of end up with a lackluster team dynamic. The staff are only often working for the paycheck rather than genuine commitment. When negativity breeds, staff turnover increases. This creates a deteriorating impact on your profits. Every time a staff member leaves, you have to spend resources of time, money, effort on recruiting, training, and integrating them into your practice. And it also leaves a residual aftermath of negativity within the remaining team. Consequently, you have stagnating growth and hence reduced returns on your investment it's actually your largest investment. If you look at your overheads, your team, your staff salaries is actually your largest overhead. So, if they're not working the way you want them to, you're literally getting reduced returns on your investment in them. And also, some people might have poor sales and marketing. See, incorrect actions or inactions by the team can result in ineffective and inefficient sales and marketing processes. And the consequences of this is poor financial results and much frustration on your part. This kind of becomes demoralizing, and then practice owners eventually begin to lose trust in their own decision making. And this becomes a repetitive cycle until you get practice declining. The other thing that forms a barrier is eventual loss of control. Despite spending huge amounts of energy, time, and resources in motivating your team and trying to do well, you sometimes feel that you fall short every time. It seems as if you're sort of on an emotional roller coaster and you find it challenging to get through to your team. Eventually, most dentists tend to compromise on their situation. I've seen this time and time again. They let the team run the show the way they want to because they kind of just lose that energy and momentum. And then sometimes it's because you don't enjoy the confrontation or the interaction that you have to have with your teams, because it sort of becomes negative where they're sort of very defensive. And eventually you just end up losing control. When you, as the business owner, the business leader, loses control, that's when your practice is going to start declining. Now, time poverty is also another big challenge. Too many practice owners get wrapped up in working in their business and they leave no time for working on their businesses. They leave no room for proper team management and progress. And some do a little bit of everything, but in a reactive and unstructured manner. Practice owners then end up losing confidence in their own management abilities and start operating from a place of fear. Now, the more often this happens, the more chaos you're going to experience, and you're never going to have enough time to make the positive changes necessary to grow your practice and your profits. So, we have to get to the other side of that wall. And getting to the other side is, of course, involving higher fees, which is what you want, or not higher fees, but more sale of your treatment recommendations. And more, when I say sale, I mean that you've given your advice to your patients and your patients accepting that advice, because in your professional opinion, that's the treatment that you recommend. But in order to do that, you are going to need a concoction of so many other things like systems, leadership, marketing. You're going to need a growth-driven business plan. You're going to have focused direction for you and your team. You're going to need efficient and effective processes and systems. You're going to need a team-driven practice, because you can't do everything. You do require your team to work for you in the proper manner. You need some kind of financial model so that you know which way you're heading and whether you're actually reaching your profit level that you require. You also need increased case acceptances where your patients are accepting your recommended treatment, which is sales. And you want to do the most cost-effective marketing you possibly can, but achieve high returns on that investment. Now, in order to make all this work, in order to gain that strategic success, you are going to need leadership. This is why it is so important. Leadership is what makes all the other components of this pie work and become effective the way that you need it to. I love this definition of leadership. It's actually the art of helping people reach their most best potential as leaders in their own lives, whilst nurturing a committed group that will work cohesively towards a shared purpose. If you look at this definition, it's all about your mindset. You need to see your team as individual leaders, and they are individual leaders. They just haven't had anyone help them reach their most best potential. So they've lost belief within themselves. People in their everyday lives, in their personal lives, are leaders. You know, if they are, say, at home and the washing machine breaks down, or some bills need paying, or they need to they're developing their children and bringing them up, that requires leadership. Leadership is needed in all areas of life. However, for some reason, when we have a team of people working with us, we stop seeing them as leaders. We see them more as children. We see them more as they have to be told what to do and then they go and do it. But that's our mindset. That's what we need to change about us. And that is the kind of leadership I'm talking about. Leadership is about lifting a person's vision to higher heights, the raising of a person's performance to higher standards. It's the building of a personality beyond its normal limitations, and it's essential to the success of any team or organization. The team need to believe in themselves. They need to believe that they are capable of so much more. The other thing you need to understand is leadership is about evolution, not about revolution. So it's about working with your team and evolving the whole team so that then your organization, your practice can evolve in alignment with that evolution. This is why leadership is so important, and it makes all the other components of the pie effective. Success starts with a team-driven practice. Now, many times when I talk to dentists, whether that be associate, whether that be practice owner, or someone who wants to buy a practice, they feel like this. They feel that as soon as they've stopped practicing dentistry, so as soon as they sort of put down their drill, their mirror probe, they get up from their patient and they walk outside of their surgery, they feel like everyone are like piranhas and they want a piece of you. You get all these questions bombarded, or what about this, and what about this, and what about this? It's like nobody has a mind of their own and nobody can make any decisions, and they're just asking you, and you kind of feel trapped and cornered. Sometimes you don't even know whether you're coming or going. Life seems to just blend all into one, and you just don't know what's happening. And this is another thing. As a practice owner, as a business owner, sometimes you kind of go through a roller coaster of emotions as well. And it can happen all in one day. Sometimes you go in and you're like excited and you're really happy to be a dentist and you feel, yes, I've made the right decision. Other times you become really frustrated and think, oh my God, my practice, why did I ever buy a practice? Nothing's going right. So you're going, oh yes, I messed up. Oh no, I'm great. Oh, I'm brilliant. Oh no, whoa, why did I do this? And you're kind of going through this emotional roller coaster in your mind, all in a space of one day. My goodness, if you're not going to feel emotionally drained by the end of the day, it just stands to reason that that's what's going to happen. And that happens to most business owners every single day. It's really challenging. What you need is transformational leadership. This is different. This is not just leadership of trying to get your an engagement from your team. It's about transforming. You have to transform yourself, your mindset, the psychology behind what's actually happening. You want to transform your team to become better individual leaders within themselves so that they can make the correct decisions for your practice, for their lives, for themselves as a team. You want to transform your whole practice. You want to move up. You want to level up. So quite often, I'm asked this question time and time again. How do you manage your team? What's the best way to manage a team? How can I motivate my team? I do so much for them. I take them out on days out. I pay for their training. I take them for dinner or for lunch. We have fun days. But I just don't seem to be able to get through to them because no matter how hard I try, how do you manage your team? This is actually one of the biggest challenges facing most dentists. And my answer to this is always the same. You don't manage your team. It's extremely difficult to manage people. That's a mindset, managing your team. Very difficult to manage people. Your team, the makeup of your team, they come with differing psychological, intellectual, emotional capacities. Not to mention all the baggage we humans carry around in our minds that affects our emotional states in the first place. Why contend with all that? That's really difficult. So the secret here is you don't manage your team. So then I can hear you saying, well, what do you do if you don't manage your team? How do you get them to do the things you need them to? What you do in a better way is you lead people who manage systems. That way, you can encourage, support, motivate, inspire, and lead people. Your people need to be autonomously working on their systems. They need to, their role is to create the systems, and then your role is to make sure that they're following those systems so that all the systems within the practice are functioning in cognizance with each other. I'm going to repeat that. So your role is to encourage, support, and motivate your team. Your role is to create the systems and then make sure the systems work effectively. Your people, i.e. your team, their job is to work autonomously on the systems that you have created. Now, You're probably saying, well, what systems? You thought you did have systems. What most people do, and the kind of systems they have, is they work on operational systems alone. They think that this is enough to create success of high revenues. Operational systems are things that you need to have in order to be open and run as a business. So things like CQC, invoicing, finance, ordering, those kind of things. The operations, the runnings of the practice, without which you can't be open and run as a practice. Now, I'm not saying that these operational systems are not important. They are. What I'm saying is that too much focus goes on operational systems, which is what managers are very, very good at, and hence they enjoy pursuing and they tend to focus a lot on that. But I'm saying that not enough focus goes on proactive growth systems, the ones that are going to get you moving to the next level. So progressively and over time, a practice is either operational, which means that it will eventually flatline, or it's making decisions reactively, and thus it's reactively declining, or it's proactively growing. And this could happen when there's any crisis, like we all faced in 2020 COVID pandemic, or it could be a change that you want to introduce. And these little points of, they're quite important crossroads actually. We're either reacting to the situation, in which case we're going to decline because of the decisions are made from a place of fear, or we're simply saying, well, we're running our business as efficiently as we can, but yet the focus is just on operational systems. Or the only way I see in business is proactively growing. So you're probably thinking, well, what are proactive growth systems and how do I get some? That's a great question. And it really starts with what you want from your practice. You see, all growth systems are not the same in all practices. It starts from what you want, what your objectives of your business are in the first place. And that comes to, why do you even exist? Why are you bothering to have a functioning practice? And therefore, it all starts with developing a business vision. This will be one of the most important things you do as a leader. All roads start from there. All functions and practice growth starts from there, your vision. If you're going to call yourself a leader, then you need to be leading your people somewhere. Otherwise, you run the risk of becoming either an uninspiring boss, a micromanager, or simply a benign dictator that keeps shouting, oh, why haven't you done this and why haven't you done this? Or you're just simply a boss and people just come to work for you for the wage and that's it. You're not going to grow it in that way. You can't achieve success because you don't know what success looks like. So you first have to answer the question, where are you heading? Why do you exist? What is the functionality of your business? What is the objective of you being in business to begin with? And this correlates with your personal vision because, as entrepreneurs, we take a huge amount of risk becoming practice owners. If we're going to take that risk, there has to be a reason why we're taking that risk. And that impact will be there in our personal lives as well, on our families, on our loved ones. So we have to really look at this quite carefully, and not many dentists actually do. The way it happens in most instances is we go through dental school, we come out of dental school and we feel quite on top of the world, and we feel like we can take on anything and we're successful and we feel the success already. Then we start working as associate dentists in other people's practices. We face frustrations with team, people, patients, even the practice owner. And then we think, I can do a better job. And then you go and buy a practice yourself thinking that you will be in control. But as soon as you buy your own practice, you suddenly realize that, hang on, this is more. I didn't expect this. And then before you know it, you end up in that stressed situation that your previous practice owner was in, and then you start understanding that, hang on, it's not all, the grass is not greener on the other side. But we all follow this path, but the way we need to follow the path needs to be on what our personal vision is, what we want to do out of our finite amount of time in dentistry. So we need to create a shared purpose. A shared purpose helps to create strong teams. If there's no understanding of a common goal, and if teams don't believe that their leader has a strategy, then what are they working towards? Why are they there in the first place? This is the basic psychology of groups of people working together. They need to know that they are working together to achieve something worthwhile. This, in turn, fuels the motivation of those involved. If people are coming into work solely to earn a wage, then they will simply give it their most minimal possible effort. They won't stay extra unless you're going to pay them. They won't do anything out of their own initiative. They won't come in and do anything extra without, if you request it, like extra training, extra learning. They're just not going to see the purpose of that, because what they will feel that they're doing that for you, not for them. So that's completely different. So you need to develop an inspiring and shared purpose. That is your practice vision. Your practice vision needs to be much more than what you want the business to be. It needs to be a shared purpose for everybody that works and interacts with that business. So what we want to then do is we want to reverse engineer our goals of what we are trying to achieve. The starting place of establishing the growth-orientated systems is reverse engineering the goals. And the goals are, of course, dependent upon the vision that we want to create. You won't know what your goals are if you don't know your vision. If you don't know your goals, then you can't establish the systems to achieve those goals. So I'm going to take a step back here just to sort of explain a system. It might be very basic for many, but it will help you to understand the point that I'm going to make. So a system is simply a sequence of events or actions that take place in a particular order. So in this example, if I want to boil rice or I want to eat rice, first of all, you learn how to boil rice. That's step one. Then you fill the pan with water. Then you put heat the pan on the stove. Then you ask yourself the question, is the water boiling? Yes. So you carry on and add the rice. If the water is not boiling, then you go back to step 2. And then step 4, you add the rice. Step 5, you wait for 15 minutes or so for it to cook, probably longer. Then you drain and then you serve the rice. Now, if this was a system in your practice, every team member understands this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. So that's what you first need to talk about, what the steps in that system are. And this could be things like your sales process could have a system. Then what you do is each team member might be at different stages of this process. So it's like an assembly line, if you like, where one or more team member might be doing one or more roles here. So they know, team member A might know that their job is step 2, to put the pan on the stove and check whether it's boiling or not. And if it's boiling, carry on and add the rice, or keep the pan on the stove. Another team member might be to drain the rice once it's cooked. So each team member knows what their specific role is and how they contribute to the overall system and what the end result should look like, and what their specific success in their step should look like. That is a system, and that is we can introduce these kind of systems for growth. The reason why you need systems is to produce effective results so that you can refine and grow to the next level, but also you can adapt and change the systems when it is necessary. So recently, during the COVID pandemic, one of the things I was working with my coaching clients on was adapting and changing the sales process systems and the marketing systems in order to adapt to the new change of environment and the new way we were facing. And we had to use a lot of creativity and ingenuity in doing that. What a leader wants is consistency of results. That is what these systems are going to give you, especially the growth systems. So, in order for you to drive your vision, which is the ultimate purpose of your business, your team needs to operate via a set of values. That's the beginning. The set of values is a behavioral system by which they will live that brand. Once they have those behavioral systems or the certain behaviors, they will be able to follow the growth systems that you've given them and the operational systems that you give them. And then they will start to develop a team culture. That's when they're living the brand. You have to get this right first. Only when you have consistency of your brand, which is an engaged team managing the growth systems, that's when you'll accelerate towards your vision. So it kind of all works together, and you can't have one. You can't just work on your values and not on the growth systems, or you can't just create growth systems without having a vision. You need it all working in a beautiful sort of magical way with each other. However, so this is quite key in leadership. Before you start even that process, you have to make sure that you've got the right people on your team first. Those that actually want to be there and those that are correct for your team because they contribute appropriately to the systems that you're going to develop. Only then will you get an engaged team. So this is a definition that I got from the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's an excellent read and you should read this book. It's like a business staple. So the quote is, get the right people on the bus first and the wrong people off it. Seat the right people in the right seats and then decide where to drive the bus. So I'll kind of change that definition a little bit. You need to know, first of all, where you're going to drive that bus, what the destination is going to be and what that looks like, or even whether you want to drive the bus or not. So that's the first consideration you need to make as the leader. Then you need to get the right people on the bus and the wrong people off it. Those people that don't want to be there are negative constantly, constantly uphill struggle for you, that are not considerate to what you are trying to do or don't want to be part of that shared purpose. You need to part ways. And the thing is, it's good for them and it's good for you because they don't really want to be there. They're miserable and they're making you miserable. So it doesn't work for either party. So that's the first thing that you need to do. Let's just look at a definition of your ideal team, of what you're trying to achieve. This is a definition of an ideal team. It's a committed group of leaders. Remember that mindset. You're seeing your team as not as individuals, but as leaders, working cohesively towards a common set of goals. There's some very important words there. Committed, cohesively, and goals. So you want a committed group of leaders, which is the values that they have. That's what develops the commitment. You want them working cohesively together. The only way team members can work cohesively is if they have a system that they are following and they understand what the purpose of that system is, what the end result looks like, and how their role contributes to it. And they also need a set of common goals, which is your vision, the shared purpose. This is vital if you want to, and this is the starting place of any good leadership. Here's an analogy that I always refer to, and I love this analogy. A conductor cannot play beautiful music unless each and every person in the orchestra, i.e. the team, understands their instrument to the very best of their ability. This is leadership. Each person knows how they contribute to the overall picture. So each person in your team needs to know their instrument, their role, to the best capability possible. You see, leadership is actually, it's not a position. We put leadership as like you're the leader and therefore you have to have leadership. But actually that's an incorrect way of thinking. It's actually an incorrect mindset, if you like. Leadership is not a position. If you have a great vision, then the entire practice, the team, the patients, all drive the mechanics of the system that creates the vision. The vision is the leadership, is the leader, and that the vision is what helps you to make decisions, each and every person. So by having a vision, you can create this autonomy and independence of work within your team. They can work like individual leaders. You have to give them the mastery and training, of course, but then they can work independently because they know what the shared purpose is. They know that what the end result they're trying to achieve. And therefore, sometimes when you even give them a system and that system doesn't work because of a change in circumstances, they can solve that problem themselves because they know what they're trying to achieve. And because they have the right set of values and behavior in the first place to begin with, they'll put the effort in to achieve that end result. Over the last 25 years, we've seen some dentists earn a basic revenue income and others earn far more. What's the difference? Why does one dentist or dental practice owner achieve financial freedom, lower stress, and greater job satisfaction quicker than another? The answer lies in a particular style of leadership, systemized transformational leadership. And this is specifically one that is directed towards dental practices. I'm talking about a style of leadership that is transformational, one that allows you to make significant changes to accomplish your success. Not only this, but not everyone is a natural born leader. So they require a set of action that leads to transformational leadership. We've now systemized the entire role, and hence we call it systemized transformational leadership. Our methods have been ones that we've carried out ourselves, so we fully understand all the challenges that go along with team leadership. You see, we've worked closely with so many teams and people from all walks of life that I can quite safely state that it's entirety, different forms of leadership are there doing different things, and there are different forms of leadership. You see, someone who talks about leadership coming from a corporate background, they are, in my experience, are far removed from what's going on the ground level. So, their conversation is on a different level when they're discussing strategies and things. They're talking with people who are maybe area managers or practice managers, people that have a little bit more of a focus as opposed to people on ground level who have specific duties and are always looking up to people above them for guidance. Senior managers are a little bit more engaged and have a better picture of the business acumen. So when you are coming from a corporate background, you're used to talking to people like that and not more intimately with ground level people. Alternatively, leadership styles that are coming from those with accounting backgrounds often make decisions that are heavily based on metrics. So they want lots of stats, and sometimes that statistics and finances and those metrics on a day-to-day level does not give you the real picture. Somebody might have potential and might need just some growth and some guidance and support because they have those innate capabilities, but the metrics don't show things like that. In a dental practice, you are not distanced from your immediate team, which means you have to deal with more intimate team dynamics. Nor can you make decisions based upon financial metrics alone, because it's not a visionary picture of what's actually happening. In a dental practice, you have to understand your people. This is a completely different ballgame. People require nurture and understanding and not unemotional decision making. You need to allow your people to reach their full potential or even realize that they have potential. And they need to be supported directly by the leader if they are going to be fully engaged. This is the difference in leadership in dentistry as opposed to leadership in other fields. We have to work actively on a one-to-one level with ground level staff and understand them as people. Not only this, but we've led teams whilst we have to lead our teams whilst we are practicing as dentists, and we've done that, so we understand what that's all about. And we've actually come up with solutions that are easy to implement, integrate, and get a return on investment. Leadership is actually about how you can serve your team. It's not about how your team can serve you. And once you change that mindset, that's when you start getting the results, which are simply a byproduct of that mentality. In the process of attaining success in our own practices, me and Rahul, and for coaching our clients and their practices within the industry, we've developed a winning formula that actually works. It's been the secret to our success, and now what we've done is systemize transformational leadership. Our formula to succeed has been tried, tested, refined, and absolutely, I can tell you this, absolutely proven to work, because we've seen the results ourselves in so many multiple ways. It's been proven to work with anyone because we've systemized this so that even if you're not born as a natural born leader, you'll have all the tools and techniques in our systemized program that will help you to achieve the success you want. Looking back over 25 years of a fulfilling career that we've both enjoyed, we can now see very clearly what worked, what didn't work, and how to overcome those challenges. And we can help you to avoid some very expensive mistakes and overcome many of these barriers to your success. For the first time ever, we have now reformulated everything and are sharing this, all that we know, with you. So just to give you a little bit of a taste into our careers. At the inception of Dental Wealth Builder, both my husband Rahul and I thought up a vision to help as many dentists as we can to enhance their businesses by providing our knowledge and experience in a strategic and systematic manner. We want you to become successful. We have discovered the secret of how to do this in a simple and easy manner without any associated stress. This is our mission, to help all you dentists out there. You see, people experience challenges in different ways. some in getting case acceptances, others with their team members, others with marketing, others with establishing the systems in the first place. And we usually find that every system is different. We want to know what issues you are having. It's worthwhile reaching out to us, and maybe we might be able to help you in some way and provide some guidance. You can use our experience and knowledge to perhaps establish a way forward. Reach out to us. Go to our website, dentalwealthbuilder.com, and write to us, bhavna@dentalwealthbuilder.com. Let us help you. Reach out and take advantage of this opportunity to speak with us. You never know, sometimes a small nugget of information is all that you need to build momentum. Let us help you to figure out a more efficient pathway for you. We've also got many resources that you might enjoy too, and we're offering some of them all complimentary access. So go to our website and have a look. I'd like to thank you all for your attention today. I really appreciate you being and listening to me, and hopefully I'll get to speak to you soon. So thank you and goodbye.